The smoke still rose from Seoul 3 months after the attack. General Hannah walked through what used to be the city center, her boots crunching on broken glass and ash. The tall buildings that once touched the sky now stood like broken teeth against the gray clouds. She stopped at a wall covered with names. Thousands of names. Her fingers traced 2 of them. Her husband and her daughter. The aliens came without warning. Their ships were massive, bigger than anything Earth had ever built. They appeared in the sky above major cities and sent a message in perfect Korean, English, Chinese, and every other language. The message was simple: surrender your planet or die. Earth's leaders refused. They thought it was a bluff. It was not. Seoul died first, then Tokyo, then Mumbai. 47 million people gone in 1 hour? The weapons came from space, beams of light that turned everything they touched into dust and fire. Hannah was in a military bunker when it happened. She watched on screens as her city, her home. Her family disappeared in white light. Now she stood in the ruins. Preparing for war, deep under the Swiss mountains, Earth's leaders met in a secret bunker. The room was cold and smelled like fear. General Hannah stood at the front, with Admiral Tiemann and Dr. Yuna. The Admiral was a tall man with gray hair who commanded Earth's small space fleet. Dr. Yuna was young. Barely 30, but she was the smartest person on the planet when it came to physics and technology. The council members sat around a long table. They were presidents, prime ministers, and generals from every nation. They all looked tired. They all looked scared. "We should surrender," said one man. "We cannot fight them. Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. If we resist, they will kill us all." Others agreed. The room filled with voices arguing for peace, for survival, for giving the aliens what they wanted. Admiral Tiemann looked at Hannah. She saw the question in his eyes. Should we fight or should we give up? Hannah stepped forward. Her voice cut through the noise like a knife. "They killed 47 million of us," she said. "They did not give us a chance to negotiate. They did not offer terms. They showed us what happens when we say no. And now you want to trust them with our future? You want to believe they will treat us well if we surrender?" The room went quiet. "I have studied these aliens," Hannah continued. "We call them the Velkrons. They have an empire that spans hundreds of worlds. Every species they conquered either gave up immediately or fought them in space battles they could not win. But no one has ever fought them the way humans fight. No one has ever made them bleed for every meter of ground." She pulled out a piece of metal from her pocket. It was twisted and burned, covered in strange symbols. It came from a Velkron ship that crashed in Seoul. "My team has been studying it," Dr. Yuna has learned how their technology works. "We know their weaknesses now. They are stronger than us in space, yes, but they do not know how to fight an enemy that refuses to meet them on their terms." One of the council members shook his head. "You want to fight a guerrilla war against aliens? That is insane," maybe Hannah said. "But it is our only chance. Give me 90 days. Let me prove that we can hurt them. Let me show them that conquering Earth will cost them more than they are willing to pay." The debate lasted for hours. Many wanted to surrender. Many thought Hannah was leading them to extinction. But in the end, fear of slavery won over fear of death. The council gave her 90 days. Hannah assembled her team in a hidden base in the Gobi Desert. The base was built underground, invisible to the Velkron ships that patrolled Earth's skies. She gathered the best soldiers, the smartest engineers, and the bravest pilots that Earth had left. Commander Ji-ho was first to arrive. He was a Special Forces soldier who had survived missions in every war zone on Earth. He was short but built like a wall, with scars on his face and hands that never stopped moving. He could kill in 100 different ways and never made a sound doing it. Engineer Minji came next. She was small and wore thick glasses, but her mind was like a computer. She could take any machine apart and put it back together better than before. She had been studying the Velkron technology day and night, learning its secrets. Pilot Doyon was the last to join. He was young, only 25, with an easy smile that made people trust him. But when he sat in a cockpit, he became something else. He could fly anything and make it dance. He had broken every speed record Earth had, and he was not afraid of dying. Hannah looked at her team. 20 people in total. 20 people to fight an empire. Our mission is simple, she told them. We are going to capture a Velcrin ship. We are going to learn how to fly it. And we are going to show Earth that we can fight back. How do we capture a ship? Jiho asked. The same way humans have always won against stronger enemies, Hannah said. We use their strength against them. We make them come to us. We set a trap. For 2 weeks they planned. They studied Velcrin patrol patterns. They learned how the aliens moved, how they thought, how they reacted to threats. The Velcrins were efficient but predictable. They followed the same routes. They responded to problems the same way every time. They were an empire that had never lost, so they had forgotten how to be careful. The trap was set in the ruins of Mumbai. Hannah's team created false signals that looked like a hidden weapons facility. They knew the Velcrins would investigate. They always investigated anything that might be a threat. On the morning of the operation, Hannah stood on a cliff overlooking the ruins. The city that once held 20 million people was now silent. The wind blew dust through empty streets. She thought about her daughter playing in these streets once, years ago on a family vacation. We are ready, Jiho said behind her. Hannah turned to her team. They wore stolen Velcrin armor that Mingy had modified. They carried weapons that Doyen had upgraded using alien technology. They looked like soldiers from the future, ready to fight monsters from the stars. Above them, the sky split open. A Velcrin patrol ship descended through the clouds, its hull glowing with strange lights. It moved toward the trap like a shark smelling blood. Hannah activated her communicator. She sent a message on all frequencies, hoping the aliens would hear it, hoping the world would hear it. You struck Earth first, believing we would break. You were wrong. We are coming for you. The battle was about to begin. The Velcrin patrol squad moved through the ruins of Mumbai like ghosts. There were 6 of them, tall and thin, their gray skin almost glowing in the dim light. They wore armor that seemed to flow like liquid metal, and they carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Their commander, a Velcrin named Vec, scanned the area with devices built into his helmet. Command, we have reached the target coordinates, Vec reported. Scanning for the weapons cache now. Hidden in the rubble 200 meters away, Commander Jiho watched through his scope. He could see every detail of the alien patrol. They moved in a perfect formation, each one covering a specific zone. Professional, disciplined, predictable. They are taking the bait, Jiho whispered into his radio. Minji, are you ready? Ready, came the engineer's voice. As soon as they get close to the false signal, I can hack their suits. The Velcrins approached what looked like an entrance to an underground bunker. It was actually a collapsed parking garage that Hannah's team had rigged with explosives and false electronic signatures. The signals mimicked Velcrin technology, making the aliens think humans had stolen their weapons. Vex stopped at the entrance. Something felt wrong. He had been a soldier for 20 years, conquering 12 different worlds. He had learned to trust his instincts. This felt too easy. Hold position, he ordered his squad. Something is not right here. Jiho cursed under his breath. The alien commander was smarter than they expected. If the patrol pulled back now, the whole operation would fail. Change of plans, Jiho said into his radio. Spring the trap now. The ground exploded beneath the Velcrin patrol. Not enough to kill them, their armor was too strong, but enough to scatter them and damage their shields. Before the smoke cleared, Jiho's team attacked from 3 directions. Bullets tore through the air. Human weapons were primitive compared to Velcrin technology. But at close range and in large numbers, they could overwhelm the alien shields. 2 Velcrins fell in the first seconds, their armor sparking and failing. Vec rolled behind a broken wall and returned fire. His weapon sent bolts of superheated plasma that melted concrete and steel. A human soldier screamed as the blast caught his shoulder, burning through armor and flesh. Retreat to the ship, Vec ordered. Call for extraction. But his communicator was dead. Mingy had released an electronic virus into the area, jamming all Velcrin frequencies. The aliens were cut off from their support. The battle turned into a nightmare for the Velkrans. They were used to fighting in open space or in organized ground assaults. This was different. The humans attacked and disappeared. They used the ruins like a maze, striking from unexpected angles and fading away before the Velkrans could respond. One Velkran turned a corner and walked into a tripwire. The explosion shredded his legs. Another climbed to a rooftop for a better position and found Jiho waiting with a knife. The fight was silent and brutal. The Velkran was taller and had better armor, but Jiho had trained his whole life for close combat. The alien fell with a cutthroat. Vec found himself alone, the last of his squad. He backed against a wall, weapon ready, breathing hard. His armor was damaged, his shields failing. He heard footsteps approaching from multiple directions. "You fight without honor," he said in perfect English. His translator working even though his communicator was jammed. "We fight to survive." Jiho's voice came from the shadows. "Your people did not give us the luxury of honor." Before that could respond, a stun grenade rolled to his feet. The blast knocked him unconscious. High above Mumbai, the Velkran patrol ship waited for its ground team to report. When the silence stretched too long, the ship's captain made the decision to descend and investigate. This was exactly what Hannah had planned for. Pilot Doyan sat in the cockpit of a modified fighter jet. Hidden in a collapsed building 3 kilometers away, the jet looked like a normal Earth aircraft. But Minji had upgraded it with every piece of stolen Velkran technology they could fit. The weapons were human-made, but the targeting systems and the engines were alien. "Target is descending," Doyan said calmly. His hands moved over the controls with the ease of someone born to fly. Beginning attack run. Fighter exploded from its hiding place, engines screaming. It covered 3 kilometers in seconds, weapons already firing. Missiles and bullets hammered the patrol ship's shields. Not doing much damage but getting its attention, the Velkran ship turned to face this new threat. Its weapons powered up, plasma cannons tracking the small fighter. The captain was angry now. These humans were like insects. Annoying but ultimately harmless. Du-Yun pushed his fighter into a dive that should have torn the aircraft apart. He flew through the ruins at impossible speeds, the Velkran ship following, its weapons tearing apart buildings as it tried to hit him. He was leading it exactly where he needed it to go. "It almost there," Doyan muttered. "Come on, just a little closer." The Velkran ship fired a spread of plasma that lit up the sky. Doyan's shields failed, and his right engine exploded. Alarms screamed in the cockpit. The fighter was dying now. He shouted into the radio. He pressed the ejection button. The cockpit burst open, and he was thrown clear, parachute deploying automatically. Below him, his fighter continued its path, not just a missile loaded with explosives and carrying Minji's most powerful hacking virus. The fighter hit the Velkran ship's engine array and exploded. The virus released in that moment of impact flooded into the ship's systems through the damaged section. The alien ship shuddered, its engines failing, systems going dark one by one. The ship crashed into the ruins of Mumbai, carving a path of destruction through abandoned streets. But it did not explode. It lay there, wounded but intact, exactly as Hannah needed. "Go, go, go." Jiho shouted into his radio. Hannah's assault team rushed the crashed ship. They used cutting torches to burn through the damaged hull, forcing their way inside. The Velkran crew, 3 being stunned from the crash, tried to fight back in the narrow corridors. This was where humanity's physical advantage showed. The Velkrans came from a low-gravity world. They were tall and graceful, but not built for heavy fighting. Humans, evolved under Earth's stronger gravity, were shorter, but much stronger. In close combat, wearing armor and swinging weapons, humans were like bears fighting deer. The fight was short and vicious. 1 Velkran died. 2 were captured alive, along with Commander Thek from the ground patrol. Hannah entered the ship with Dr. Yuna close behind. The interior was strange, all smooth surfaces and holographic controls, but it was theirs now. Minji was already at the ship's computer systems, downloading everything she could find. "This is incredible," Yuna breathed, her hands running over the alien technology. "With this, we can learn everything. Their ships, their weapons, their tactics. Minji looked up from her work, her eyes wide. General, you need to see this. I accessed their navigation system. It has coordinates for every Velcrin gate station in this part of the galaxy. Gate station? Hannah asked. That's how they travel faster than light, Yuna explained, looking at the data. They use massive gates positioned throughout space. Ships jump from gate to gate instantly. It is like a highway system across the stars. Hannah felt her heart beat faster. Where is the nearest gate? At the edge of our solar system, Mingi said. And these coordinates show dozens more. If we can use this ship, we can go anywhere in their empire. Far away aboard the Velcrin flagship Dominion Eternal, Fleet Commander Velker received the news of the lost patrol. He stood in his command center, surrounded by displays showing the status of his forces across multiple star systems. One ship, he said slowly. One small patrol ship lost to primitive weapons and luck. The humans used guerrilla tactics, his advisor explained. They laid a trap. They captured the ship intact and likely have accessed its systems. Velker's hands clenched into fists. In 1,000 years of Velcrin expansion, no conquered species had ever successfully counterattacked. No one had ever stolen their technology. No one had ever made fools of his military. Send a battle group, Velker ordered. 500 ships. Reduce their major cities to dust. Make an example of this world that will echo across the galaxy. That seems excessive for one planet, the advisor said carefully. Velker turned to him, his eyes cold. These humans need to learn their place. And every other species in our empire needs to remember what happens to those who resist. Back on Earth, General Hannah stood before her small team in the captured ship. Around them, engineers and scientists swarmed over every surface, studying, learning, cataloging. But Hannah's mind was already on the next move. We hurt them today, she said. We proved we can fight back. But this is just the beginning. They will come for us now with everything they have. Then what do we do? Ji-Ho asked. Hannah looked at the star maps displayed on the Velcrin screens. She saw the web of gates connecting hundreds of worlds. She saw the Empire stretched thin across space, confident in its power, never expecting an attack from within. We do what humans have always done when facing a stronger enemy, she said. We do not wait for them to come to us. We take the fight to them. The captured Velcrin ship hung in space at the edge of Earth's solar system. Hannah had renamed it Defiance, and now it carried 50 of Earth's best soldiers. Pilots and scientists toured an alien gate that looked like a ring of stars frozen in space. The gate was enormous, kilometers wide, crackling with energy that human science could barely understand. Pilot Doyon sat in the command chair, his hands sweating despite the cool air. He had spent 3 weeks learning to fly this ship, studying every control and system. The interface was designed for Velcrin hands and minds, but Minji had modified it enough that humans could operate it. Barely. Approaching the gate, Doyon announced, "Everyone hold on to something. No one knows what this will feel like." Hannah stood behind him, watching the gate grow larger in the view screen. They were betting everything on this mission. If it failed, if they were caught, Earth would face retaliation that would make the first attack look gentle. But if they succeeded, it could prove that humanity could strike back anywhere in the Velcrin Empire. The ship entered the gate. Reality broke apart. Doyon felt like he was being stretched across infinite distance and crushed into a single point at the same time. Colors that had no names flashed past. He heard music that was not sound and felt textures that were not physical. Then, as suddenly as it began, it stopped. They were somewhere else. A different star system, light years from Earth. "Everyone okay?" Hannah asked, fighting down nausea. Around her, several soldiers were throwing up. Dr. Yuna was taking readings, her face pale, but excited. "That was incredible," Yuna said. "We traveled 12 light years in seconds. The physics involved are beyond anything we understand." "Focus," Hannah said. "Where are we?" Minji checked the navigation systems. Kelter Prime. According to the Velcrin database, it is a logistics world. They bring resources from conquered planets here for processing and distribution. The view screen showed them what Kelter Prime looked like. The planet below was covered in massive industrial complexes. Cargo ships the size of cities moved between the surface and orbit. Automated factories churned out Velcrin technology at a scale that made Earth's entire industrial capacity look like a child's toy workshop. But what made Hannah's heart hurt were the beings she could see working the facilities. Hundreds of species, thousands of individuals, all slaves of the Velcrin Empire. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien. All of them were prisoners, their worlds conquered. Their lives spent serving their masters. "This is what they wanted to do to us," Commander Jiho said quietly. "This is what we are going to stop." Hannah replied. They spent hours studying the traffic patterns around Kelter Prime. Velcrin security was tight but predictable. Ships came and went on schedules, following the same routes, checking in with the same protocols. The Empire was so confident in its power that it had become lazy. There, Mingy pointed at a massive cargo ship preparing to leave orbit. That ship is carrying processed metals and energy cells to other Velcrin worlds. If we destroy it, we hurt their supply lines. "How do we get on board?" Jiho asked. "We use the codes from this ship," Mingy explained. "As far as their computers know, we are a legitimate Velcrin patrol. We dock, we plant explosives, we leave." It sounded simple. Hannah knew it would not be simple. The Defiance approached the cargo ship slowly. Doyon transmitted the stolen identification codes, his heart pounding. If the codes did not work, if the Velcrins had already flagged this ship as captured, they would be surrounded by warships in seconds. Patrol ship Defiance. "You are cleared to dock," came a bored Velcrin voice over the radio. "State your purpose." "Routine security inspection," Doyon replied in perfect Velcro. Mingy had programmed the translator perfectly. "Acknowledge. Bay 7 is open." They were in. Giho led a team of 12 soldiers into the cargo ship. They wore Velcrin armor that Mingy had stolen and modified, and they carried weapons that looked alien enough to pass inspection. The key was to move with confidence, like they belonged there. The interior of the cargo ship was massive. Crates and containers stretched in every direction, stacked hundreds of meters high. Automated systems moved goods with mechanical precision, and there working among the machines were the slaves. A group of beings that looked like six-limbed cats saw Gio's team and immediately looked away, keeping their heads down. They had learned that looking at Velcrins could mean punishment. Jiho felt sick. These beings thought he was one of their oppressors. "Keep moving," he whispered to his team. "We have a job to do." They reached the engine room without incident. The reactor core hummed with power, a massive sphere of contained energy that could light up a small city. Mingy had designed special explosives that would cause the reactor to overload. When it went, it would take out this ship and any vessels docked nearby. 2 soldiers began placing the charges. Jiho stood guard, watching the corridors. Everything was going according to plan. That should have worried him more. "Identification," a voice said behind him. Jiho turned. A Velcrin security officer stood there, weapon drawn. The alien's eyes were narrow, suspicious. "What is your designation?" the Velcrin demanded. "Your biometric signature does not match your stated identity." The armor was good enough to fool automated systems, but not a living Velcrin, looking at it up close. Jiho's mind raced for an explanation, but it was too late. The security officer saw the hesitation. "Intruders," the Velcrin shouted, raising his weapon. Jiho shot him first. The sound of gunfire in the enclosed space was deafening. Alarms immediately began screaming throughout the ship. "Plant the charges now," Jiho ordered. "We are leaving." His team ran through the corridors, fighting their way toward the docking bay. Velcrin security forces appeared from everywhere, armed and angry. The humans used their knowledge of close combat and their superior strength, but they were outnumbered badly. Lieutenant Bora? Thud. A young woman who had left 2 children back on Earth was hit by plasma fire. She fell without a sound, her armor melting. Another soldier went down, then another. Jiho grabbed the explosives from his dead comrade and armed them manually. Go, he shouted to the survivors. Get back to the ship. They ran. Behind them, Velcrin soldiers gave chase. Jiho set the timer for 30 seconds and threw the explosives toward the pursuing aliens. Then he ran faster than he had ever run in his life. They made it back to the Defiance with seconds to spare. Doyan did not wait for permission. He undocked and fired the engines at maximum thrust. The ship pulled away from the cargo vessel just as the explosives detonated. The cargo ship's reactor went critical. The explosion was like a miniature sun, vaporizing the vessel instantly and catching 3 other docked ships in the blast. Debris and fire filled the space around Kelter Prime. Alarms rang across the entire planet. Aboard the Defiance. Hannah looked at her team. They had started with 12 soldiers. 8 came back. Bora's empty chair seemed to scream at her. Every decision she made cost lives. Was it worth it? Jiho asked quietly, his armor still smoking from near misses. Hannah did not have an answer that would make the deaths worthwhile. But she had a mission. Minji, can you broadcast a message on all Velcrin frequencies? She asked. Yes, but they will be able to track us. Good, I want them to hear this. Dr. Yuna set up the recording equipment. Hannah stood in front of the camera, still wearing her combat armor, her face hard. I am General Hannah of Earth, she said. You came to our world and killed 47 million of us. You thought we would surrender. You thought we were weak. Today we struck your logistics hub. Tomorrow we will strike somewhere else. You can end this occupation of Earth, or you can continue to underestimate us. Choose wisely. The message was broadcast across every Velcrin channel. Then something unexpected happened. Other channels, ones that were not Velcrin, began responding. Text messages in dozens of alien languages flooded their systems. Mingi quickly translated them. They were from conquered species across the Empire. Beings who had seen humanity's defiance and were spreading the word, you actually hurt them. We saw what you did at Kelter Prime. Give them hell. We are watching. Make them bleed. In his command center on the Dominion Eternal, Fleet Commander Velker watched the message from General Hannah 5 times. His staff stood in silence, afraid to speak. This human female, Velker said slowly, has made me look weak. She has inspired our slaves to hope. She has proven that our empire can be hurt. What are your orders? His advisor asked. Velker stood. His decision was made. Assemble the Armada. Every ship we can spare. We will go to Earth personally. I will reduce their planet to ash while this general watches. Then I will execute her on what remains of her world, and every species in the Empire will see what happens to those who resist. As the Defiance fled back toward the gate, they were intercepted by 4 ships. But these were not Velcrin vessels. They were smaller, older, built from a dozen different technologies patched together. A face appeared on their view screen. The being was covered in silver fur with 6 eyes. It spoke through a translator. I am Captain Riven of the Thalric Resistance Fleet. We have been fighting the Velcrins in secret for 200 years. We saw what you did. We are here to help you reach the gate safely. Hannah felt hope for the first time in months. They were not alone. The Thalric ships escorted them to the gate. As they prepared to jump back to Earth, Riven sent a final message. Your resistance has inspired others. Across the Empire, conquered worlds are watching. Keep fighting. Show us that freedom is possible. The Defiance jumped through the gate and emerged back in Earth's solar system. But Admiral Taman was waiting for them with terrible news. General, our long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet assembling beyond the gate. Over 300 Velcrin warships. They are preparing to invade. Hannah had known this would happen. By attacking Kelter Prime, she had forced the Empire's hand. Now Earth would face the full might of the Velcrin military. How long do we have? She asked. Days, maybe hours. Hannah looked at her scarred, exhausted team. They had proven humanity could fight back. But now came the real test. Could they survive what was coming? They came like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 Velcrin warships emerged from the gate, their hulls gleaming under the distant sun. They were ships of every size and purpose. Small destroyers bristling with weapons, massive cruisers that could crack continents, and at the center, the flagship Dominion Eternal. A vessel so large, it had its own gravity. Fleet Commander Velker stood on his command deck, watching Earth grow larger on his displays. The small blue planet looked peaceful from space, unaware of the destruction that was coming. He felt satisfaction. This world had embarrassed him. Now he would make it an example that would terrify the galaxy for generations. Send the message, Velker ordered. The broadcast went out on all frequencies in every Earth language. Velker's face appeared on screens across the planet, from military bunkers to civilian shelters. People of Earth, I am Fleet Commander Velker. Your General Hannah has committed acts of war against the Velkran Empire. She has 24 hours to surrender herself to my custody. If she does not, I will destroy your cities one by one. Your continents will burn. Your oceans will boil. Your species will become a warning to others who think they can resist us. In her command center deep in the Himalayas, General Hannah watched the message with Admiral Tiemann and Dr. Yuna. Around them, displays showed the Velkran fleet taking position in orbit. Every strategic location on Earth was now under their guns. He wants me, Hannah said. If I surrender, maybe he will spare the planet. You know that is a lie, Tiemann replied. He did not come here with 300 ships to arrest one person. He came to make us extinct. Then what do we do? Yuna asked. We have 40 ships. They have 300. Our weapons barely scratch their shields. We cannot win this fight. Hannah was silent for a long moment. She thought about Sol, about her family, about all the people who had died because she had chosen to fight instead of surrender. Maybe they had been right. Maybe she had doomed humanity. Then Engineer Minji burst into the command center, carrying a strange device that pulsed with blue light. I have been working on something, Minji said, out of breath. The gate technology. I think I can destabilize it, explain, Hannah said. Minji put the device on a table and pulled up holographic displays. The gates work by creating artificial wormholes through space. They need constant energy to stay stable. If we disrupt that energy at the gate's core, we can collapse it. Any ships near the gate, when it collapses, will be destroyed. And more importantly, the gate will be closed. No ships can come through. No ships can leave. If you want to trap Velker's fleet in our system, Tiemann asked. Cut off their supply lines. Cut off their reinforcements. Make this fight between what they have now and everything we can throw at them. Eunice studied the calculations. This could work. But someone would need to manually activate the device inside the gate structure itself. The radiation levels there would kill a person in minutes. Everyone looked at each other. They all knew what this meant. It was a suicide mission. I will go, Commander, Jiho said. He had been standing in the corner, silent until now. I have been a soldier my whole life. Let me do this. Let me buy Earth time. Will not go alone, said several voices. Jiho's entire Special Forces unit volunteered. They had fought beside him from the beginning. They would die beside him if needed. Hannah felt tears in her eyes, but did not let them fall. Get ready. We launch in 2 hours. The plan was desperate and had almost no chance of success. Earth's entire remaining fleet would attack the Velkran armada head-on, creating a distraction. While the battle raged, the Defiance would make a run for the gate. Jiho and his team would board it, plant Mingi's device, and activate it. No one spoke about what would happen to the Defiance and its crew. They would not have time to escape before the gate collapsed. Pilot Doyan spent the time before launch sitting alone in the Defiance's cockpit. He was 25 years old. He had always dreamed of dying peacefully in his sleep at age 90. But dreams did not survive contact with reality. You do not have to do this, Hannah said, finding him there. We can get another pilot. Doyan smiled. No one flies like me, General? You said so yourself. If anyone can get Jiho to that gate, it is me. Your parents, Hannah started. Are dead, Doyan finished. Sol, remember? All I have left is Earth. If Earth dies, I have nothing anyway. At least this way, my death means something. The 24 hours ended. Velker's patience was gone. The human general has refused to surrender, he announced to his fleet. Begin bombardment of their population centers. Start with their capital cities. Make them understand the price of defiance. The Velkran fleet powered up its weapons. But before they could fire, alarms rang across every ship. Enemy fleet approaching. A sensor operator shouted. All Earth vessels are attacking. Taman led Earth's 40 ships in a desperate charge. He knew they could not win. He knew most of them would die in the first minutes. But they had to buy time for Jiho. The space battle was brutal. Velkran plasma cannons turned Earth ships into expanding clouds of debris. Human missiles and railguns hammered against alien shields that seemed unbreakable. But the humans did not retreat. They closed to point-blank range and kept firing. On the Dominion Eternal, Velker watched in surprise as an Earth destroyer rammed one of his cruisers. Both ships exploded, but the human had taken a Velkran vessel with it. These humans fight like they have nothing to lose, his advisor said. Because they do not, Velker replied. Kill them all. While the battle raged, the Defiance raced toward the gate. Doyon pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The ship shook and groaned, threatening to tear itself apart. Behind them, 6 Velkran destroyers broke away from the main battle to give chase. We have company, Doyen announced calmly, even as plasma blasts tore past them. I am on it, Jiho said. He was in the weapons station, controlling the Defiance S guns. He was not a trained gunner, but he had always been a quick learner. The dogfight through space was like a deadly dance. Doyon twisted and turned, using every trick he knew. Jiho fired back, scoring hits on 2 destroyers and damaging their engines. But the other 4 kept coming. 30 seconds to the gate? Doyon counted down. 2010. A plasma blast hit the Defiance S rear shields. They failed instantly. Another blast punched through the hull, venting atmosphere and killing 3 soldiers in the cargo bay. We are not going to make it. Someone shouted. Yes, we are, Doyon growled. He redirected all power from weapons and shields to the engines. The ship lunged forward in one final burst of speed. They reached the gate. Doyon did not slow down. He flew straight into the massive ring structure, the ship scraping against metal, sparks flying. They crashed into a maintenance bay inside the gate, the impact throwing everyone forward. Move, 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 Jiho shouted. His team grabbed Minji's device and ran through the gate's interior corridors. The Velkran destroyers were docking. They had minutes at best. The gate's core was a sphere of pure energy suspended in a chamber that hurt to look at. Radiation alarms screamed. Jiho's suit registered lethal doses immediately. Plant the device, he ordered. His soldiers worked with shaking hands. Velkran troops were flooding into the gate now, firing on them. Humans fell one by one, their bodies absorbing bullets meant for their comrades. The device was in place. Jiho activated it with bleeding fingers. The timer showed 60 seconds. Fall back to the ship. He ordered the 4 soldiers still alive. What about you? One asked. Someone needs to make sure the Velkrans do not disable this, Jiho said. Now go. They ran. Jiho stayed, his weapon raised, firing at the approaching Velkrons. The device behind him counted down. 40 seconds. 30. A plasma bolt hit his chest. His armor held but cracked. Another hit his leg. He fell, but kept firing. 20 seconds. Doyon had the Defiance S engines running. Jiho's remaining soldiers made it aboard. Where is the commander? Doyon demanded. He stayed, one soldier said, tears streaming down his face. Doyon wanted to go back. Every fiber of his being screamed to save his friend. But Jiho had made his choice. Doyon had to make his... Hold on, he said, and punched the engines. The Defiance pulled away from the gate as the device detonated. The explosion was not fire or force. It was reality breaking. The gate's energy matrix collapsed inward, creating a singularity that pulled everything nearby into oblivion. The 4 Velkran destroyers were torn apart. Jiho and his last stand vanished in white light, The gate imploded, leaving nothing but twisted metal and radiation. On the Dominion Eternal, Velker felt his stomach drop as his sensors registered the gate's destruction. "We are trapped," his advisor said unnecessarily. "I can see that," Velker snapped. He looked at the tactical display. His fleet was stranded. They had supplies for months, but no reinforcements would come. No retreat was possible, and as he watched, more ships began appearing on his sensors. Not from the gate, but from the outer system. Ships that were not Velkrent. The Thauric resistance fleet had come. Behind them were vessels from 6 other conquered species. When they learned the gate was disrupted, they had launched their own rebellions. Now they came to Earth to help finish what Hannah had started. Velker's 300 ships were now facing a coalition of freed slaves and desperate humans. The battle was far from over, but for the first time in Velkran history, the Empire's forces were outnumbered. General Hannah stood on Earth's surface, watching the battle in orbit through screens. Ships exploded like fireworks. The death toll was rising into the thousands. But humanity was still fighting, and they were not alone anymore. Then new alarms sounded. Velkran orbital weapons were powering up on the Dominion Eternal. Not plasma cannons. Something worse. "What are those?" Hannah demanded. Dr. Eunice's face went pale. "Planet killers. They will drill into Earth's core and detonate. The explosions will tear our world apart from the inside." 6 massive torpedoes launched from the flagship, burning toward Earth's atmosphere. Hannah had seconds to decide. Stop those torpedoes, or lose everything. The 6 planet-killer torpedoes fell through space like meteors of extinction. Each one was 50 meters long, designed to drill through crust and mantle until they reached Earth's core. When they detonated, they would turn the planet into an expanding cloud of debris. Everything humanity had ever been, everything they could be, would end in fire. Every weapon Earth had left turned skyward. Orbital defense platforms that had survived the battle fired everything they carried. The remaining ships broke away from the Velkran fleet to intercept. Missiles and railgun slugs filled the space between orbit and atmosphere. 4 torpedoes exploded in brilliant flashes. Their detonations were clean kills, the planet killers destroyed before they could arm themselves. But 2 got through. General Hannah watched from her command center as the 2 remaining torpedoes entered Earth's atmosphere. They burned red-hot from friction, but did not slow down. They would impact in 18 minutes. One was headed for the Pacific Ocean. The other was falling toward Central Asia. "Can we stop them?" Hannah asked. "No," Admiral Taman said. His voice was hollow. "They are too fast, too well armored. Once they start drilling, nothing can reach them." Dr. Yuna was working frantically at her computer, her fingers flying across holographic displays. "There might be one way," she said. "The gate. The destroyed gate still has residual energy. If we can create a focused gravitational pulse, we could pull the torpedoes back into space before they penetrate too deep." "Will that work?" Hannah demanded. "I do not know," Yuna admitted. "The calculations say it is possible, but I have never tried anything like this. We could tear Earth apart ourselves." Hannah looked at the countdown timer. 16 minutes. She thought about her daughter who died in Seoul. She thought about Commander Ji-ho, who sacrificed himself at the gate. She thought about the millions who had already died fighting this war. "Do it," she said, while UNA sent the commands. At the edge of the solar system, the destroyed gate's remains began to pulse with energy. The exotic matter that powered Velkran faster than light travel was unstable now. Dangerous, but it could be directed. Barely. The first torpedo hit the Pacific Ocean and began drilling. It cut through water and rock like they were paper, burrowing toward Earth's molten heart. The second hit in the mountains of Tibet and started its own terrible descent. Yuna activated the gravitational pulse. Reality bent. On Earth's surface, people felt it as a terrible pressure, like the planet was being squeezed by an invisible hand. The oceans surged. Mountains trembled. And deep underground, the 2 torpedoes suddenly reversed course. They tore back through the Earth, pulled by gravitational forces that should not exist. Rock and water followed them, geyser erupting from the Pacific and the mountains. The torpedoes broke free of Earth's surface and shot back into space, accelerating faster and faster as the right gravitational pulse dragged them away from the planet. They detonated in the void between Earth and Moon, their explosions lighting up the sky but harming nothing. Earth survived, barely in orbit. Fleet Commander Velker watched his planet-killer weapons fail. He felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. His armada was trapped. His ultimate weapons were useless, and the enemy fleet was closing in on all sides. "Sir, we are receiving communications from multiple ships in the fleet," his advisor reported. "They are asking for permission to surrender." Surrender. Velker's voice was dangerous. "We are the Velkran Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We do not surrender to primitives. With respect, Commander, we are outnumbered. We are cut off. If we continue fighting, we will all die here." Velker looked at his tactical display. He still had over 200 ships. The enemy had maybe 300, but they were a mix of species with different technologies, different tactics. If he concentrated his forces, he could still win. "All ships focus fire on the human vessels," he ordered. "Ignore the others. Kill the humans, and the rest will lose heart." General Hannah was not surprised when the Velkran fleet changed its attack pattern. She had studied Velker's history. He was a warrior who believed in total victory or death. He would never surrender. She opened a channel to every ship in the battle, friend and enemy alike. Her face appeared on view screens across hundreds of vessels. "I am General Hannah of Earth," she said. "Fleet Commander Velker, you came to my world believing we would break. You killed 47 million of my people. You thought technology would save you, but you forgot something important. We humans have been fighting wars since before we discovered fire. We know how to hurt an enemy that is stronger than us. We know how to survive when survival seems impossible, and we know when to offer mercy." She paused, letting her words sink in. To every Velkran soldier listening, you have a choice. Your commander brought you here to die for his pride, but you do not have to. Power down your weapons. Lower your shields. We will escort you to a moon where you can wait for rescue. You will be treated with respect. You will not be harmed. Or you can follow your commander into death. Choose now. Velker's face twisted with rage. "Any ship that surrenders will be destroyed by my personal order." All vessels maintained combat formation. But his fleet was already falling apart. Ship after ship began lowering shields. Captains who did not want to die for Velker's ego made their choice. They had families on Velkran worlds light years away. They had lives they wanted to return to. Hannah offered them a way out. 30 ships stopped fighting, then 50, then 100. "Traitors," Velker screamed. "Cowards. I will have you all executed." "Sir," his advisor said quietly, "our own crew is asking if we should surrender as well." Velker turned to face his bridge staff. He saw the fear in their eyes, the exhaustion, the doubt. They had followed him across the galaxy. They had conquered worlds under his command. But they did not want to die here, Mutiny, Velker whispered. "You would commit mutiny. We would commit survival," his second-in-command said. She drew her sidearm. "Stand down, Commander. The battle is over." Velker looked at the weapon pointed at him. He looked at his crew, all of them watching him, waiting to see what he would do. He was Fleet Commander Velker, conqueror of 12 worlds, terror of the Empire. But he was also just one person, tired and far from home. "You win," he said to Hannah through the open channel. "Earth wins." 3 weeks later, the skies above Sol were clear for the first time in months. Velkran ships remained in orbit, but they were no longer weapons. They were tools helping to rebuild what they had destroyed. Velkran technology and knowledge flowed to Earth freely now. The aliens had become laborers, earning their freedom through work. General Hannah walked through the ruins one last time. Construction crews, human and alien working side by side, were already raising new buildings. The memorial wall had been preserved, protected, a reminder of what was lost and what was saved. She placed flowers at the base of the wall, beneath the names of her husband and daughter. Beside her, Engineer Minji and Pilot Doyon stood silently. Admiral Taman was there too, along with representatives from 23 different alien species. The Free Systems Coalition, Taman said. That is what they are calling it. All the worlds that rebelled against the Empire. They want us to lead them. Lead them? Hannah asked. We barely saved ourselves. That is exactly why they trust us, Minji said. We know what it means to fight for survival. We know the cost of freedom. Doyon smiled slightly. Besides, someone needs to make sure the Velkrans never try this again. Might as well be us. Hannah looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, the Velkran Empire was collapsing. Gate by gate, world by world, conquered species were breaking free. The 1,000-year empire was dying, killed by its own arrogance and one small planet's refusal to surrender. A shuttle was waiting to take her to the coalition meeting.